ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today I am speaking on very important topic, which is very interesting. After coming in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, after receiving his divine name, after going through his most fascinating practical spiritual instructions, I am speaking on this subject. I hope whoever is seeking God should be able to follow these steps if he wants to attain God. It is not difficult, but you have to act upon practically, seriously. So the subject of today, 6 steps to attain God. I have tried to pinpoint what exactly we should have to practice. Very important, and every step is as important as the next one. Each one is great. Each one has to be followed meticulously. It's a great achievement to attain God. Remarkable achievement. But people talk loosely. I have seen many people, sometimes they come to talk with me for interview. They ask in a very casual way, have you seen God? As if it is child's play. First of all, live the life properly. Realization of God is a fruit. The tree has to grow nicely, in a healthy way. the leaves should be healthy, the flowers should be healthy, the tree should be healthy, then certainly you will get the very best fruit. You have to take very careful steps to maintain the health at all levels. So, if you come to practical aspect of life, how miserable we are. The reason is not difficult to find out. If you cannot find out, we can point out the reasons. But the way to go in the path lies in each one of you. If you have to follow the path properly, you must reach the goal of the journey. So, the first step that is required, this step is required everywhere, but I am speaking, it is more important, most important when you come to spiritual life. The first step is Dhrida Nishchayaha. What a fine words. Dhrida Nishchaya. That means you must have firm determination. Then only enter into spiritual life. Simply talking loosely and not conducting oneself properly, how can you expect any spiritual unfoldment? So you have to test yourself. Are you sure? Are you sure you want to realize God? Or you want God to dance with you? You want something, He must be favorable to you. If He is not, then you are angry with God. You want to bargain with God. Of course, He will not say no to a devotee who wants some favor to be done to him. Well, He gives everything but Himself. If you want God, you have to love Him. Very important. First of all, you must decide whether you want to realize God. That's a very important question. Then only everything will follow. Well, I hope at least those who come to Vedanta, they have that desire. Whatever may be the reasons for not attaining God, at least they want to reach God, to see God. At least they have found out it's only coming to God one could get real peace or happiness in this world. Otherwise not. Well, that's why it's very important. You must be constantly associated with the spiritual ideas and the people who are practicing spiritual life. It's very important. Association. Very, very important. So, Vedanta, you taste Vedanta when you become serious about it. Otherwise, you will not have any taste of it. So, Dhrida Nishchayaha, firm determination. You will have to act with firm determination to realize God. You must be always be aware of this point, this step. Always, till you realize God, this determination should be with you. Please mind that. Not that I will have determination only for certain period of time. Otherwise it is not necessary. No. Until you see God face to face, this determination must go to that extent. Swami Chidananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. They are all gems. 16 disciples, 16 gems. I don't know how to describe. If you read them, if you understand what they are talking, what they are teaching, you will be thrilled. Said, they came to our level, they underwent all suffering, though they don't have to suffer, only to show that we don't have to despair on account of suffering. We don't have to lose faith in God. On the other hand, we should instill faith in God on account of suffering, on account of all these disturbances around us. So, he is teaching us, your determination should be such. Make a start from this very day. Not tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Not after some years of my younger days. Let me cross about 50 years. Afterwards, when I reach the middle age, let me think. No. If you come to Sri Ramakrishna philosophy, there is no question of procrastination, no question of postponement. Whatever done is done. Forget about what is done. Think of today, how much you are seeking God, how much you are firm about your determination. That's very important in your spiritual journey. First of all, you must set the goal. Are you sure about realizing God? Are you sure that your life is set for that? It begins from that point. If you're not sure, then no steps you will be able to climb up. So, Swami Chidananda very emphatically says, make a start from this very day. Time is flying. Delay is debasing. What a wonderful statement. Time is flying. Delay is debasing. Nobody can say when one will have to call for departure. So don't waste a single day. These are the words of Swami Chidananda. I am just telling his own words. So those who think that these things can be put off for the future, never do anything. They will be tossed to this current of birth and death indefinitely. There is no end to it. Keep on going back and forth. The Swami warns that don't expect speedy result. Just because you have entered into spiritual life, it doesn't mean that instantly you must have all the experiences. It cannot happen that way. One has to go on persevering in the path day after day, month after month, year after year, with the same determination. Don't forget that. Dhrida nishchayaha. That's why I'm using the word Sanskrit word. It's easy to remember. Dhrida nishchayaha. One has to make spiritual efforts. What is wanted is intensity, yearning, and sincerity. Once you have the yearning in your mind, success is near at hand. See the life of Lord Buddha. What firm determination he had. After years of searching, he finally sat under a tree with a firm determination to realize God then and there or die in the attempt. He will never get up until he get that experience. With such strong determination, he sat through under the tree. Finally, he got illumination. That firm determination is what is needed. Another great disciple, I am just charmed to dwell upon the teachings of these great teachers. Marvelous. Swami Chidananda ji, he says, clench your fists and say, I will conquer now or never. Make that your motto, even in this life I must see God. That's the only way. Never postpone. What you know to be right, do that. And do that at once. Don't let any chance go by. Remember, this life is for the strong, the persevering. And always be on your guard. Never give in. Every sentence, every word is important if you are seeking God, if you want to attain God. So don't complain about circumstances. They may or may not be favorable, but don't care. You must strain every nerve to accomplish the thing. If you are determined to do it at any cost, you will find that great obstacles which you thought would overpower you ultimately turn out to help you. The obstacles are coming to help you, not to hinder your progress. See the fun. It all depends upon how you are determined in your pursuit. It follows you must struggle sincerely. Does one find circumstances always propitious? Consider what you have got to do as your duty and go on. Always remember, you are undecaying and immortal. You are potentially divine. There is no death or birth to you. All these things are happening on account of the darkness of ignorance. So why should you go about seeking favorable circumstances? It is you who have projected all this. And there's a famous example, all of you know that. Once a man went to the seaside to bathe. There he waits and waits, thinking that he would plunge when the waves subside. How can you expect the waves subside in the ocean? It is nothing but foolishness. Will that moment ever come? What's the wisest way to do? Instead of doing so, plunge against the waves. Have your bath and come out. That's the wisest way. The sea remains always the same. So, in this world, you must manage to call upon the Lord in the midst of these waves. It is a wild goose chase to be on the lookout for opportunities. Now or never. Apply yourself to it, and disadvantages will turn into advantages. It is true that rooting out tendencies is an uphill task. But if one has the determination to say, what if I have once done something wrong? Now I know what it is. Now I won't do it anymore. If you have this conviction, then you can get through. If you take refuge in the Lord with a firm determination that you won't do it again, in that case, all the sins done previously will be forgiven. They will be forgiven. If God had not that quality of forgiveness, probably we would have to suffer eternally. So much sins we have done and we are doing, we will have to suffer eternally for all the sins what we have done. But God is gracious. He takes away all our sins. We must know only how to approach Him, how to reach Him. That's all. He wants nothing from you. He just wants to be sure you are loving Him. That's all. So what is needed is, you must not play the hypocrite. If you want your all sins to be washed away, you must not be hypocrite. Then all the world's sins, if you are hypocrite, then all the world's sins will come down upon you and exact their dues. Exact their dues with compound interest. You must know that. So one should have great determination. So it means you must control the mind and not allow the mind to control you. The best period of your life is slipping by. It won't return. It won't return. But if you practice, you will see for yourself that within a few days a change will come over you. Everything will become clear, everything will become easy. What we call samskara, they will establish themselves. They will establish themselves. Why we keep on telling, please come, be associated, read spiritual texts every day, repeat divine's name, God's name, do prayers, do worship, do it regularly. We keep on telling that. It's only to establish good impressions in your mind. Start now. Tell yourself, I shall do it. Be a determined spiritual aspirant. Say, either I succeed in the practice of repeating God's holy name or I shall die in the attempt. He should have such determination. It's only those who have that firm determination get success in whatever endeavors. There's a beautiful story Sri Ramakrishna has said about the significance of firm determination. It is in the gospel. The person of firm determination will never say, I shall complete it by and by. I am about to take it up. I am going to begin this. He never entertains a procrastinating mood. The person of fiery determination pants after God as a mother's heart does for her child. He wants nothing except God. Such a person never thinks, let me first settle my family affairs and then I shall meditate on God. The story which Sri Ramakrishna is telling, there is a drought in a certain part of the country. The crops are failing. They need urgently water. So the farmers began to cut long channels to connect the field with the water. One farmer was firmly determined. He took a vow that he would not stop digging until the channel connected his field with the river. So he set to work. He is digging and digging. He has finished about 25% of digging. Still 75% is to be done to connect it to the water, to connect it to the river. But then the time is going up. The time came for his bath, and the wife sent their daughter to him with oil. The girl came to the father and the girl is telling, it's getting late, why don't you take bath, rub your body with the oil, take bath. The child is coming and telling the father. The farmer who was digging the earth, he was not in a mood to talk. He was not in a mood even to look at her. Though he loved his daughter very much, at that point of time, he never wanted to deviate his attention to anything else. So, he just simply ordered her to get away. He didn't say anything. He told in such a way, the girl ran away from the place. His task was not finished. Much had to be done still. It was past midday. The farmer is still doing work at the field. He not thinking about anything else. Then the wife herself came. She wanted to remind him about taking the food. So she came very courageously. Probably daughter could not talk to him. I can talk. So she wanted to assert her partnership. She's a life partner, you know. She can talk. So she went boldly. And she's talking. Why haven't you taken your bath? Food is getting cold. You always overdo things. Your nature is to overdo. You can finish the rest tomorrow or even today after dinner. Take the dinner and then come and do the work. What does it matter? Of course, for her, it doesn't matter. It's only farmer. He knows the seriousness of the thing. The farmer, at that point, he never considered his wife was talking to him. As I said earlier, his whole attention was on digging, how fast he could connect his field with the river. So he scolded her furiously. Not only that, he ran at her, spade in hand, and he shouted at her, "What? Do you have any sense? There is no rain, the crops are dying. What will the children eat? You will have to starve to death. You must know, I have taken a vow not to think of bath or food before I bring water to my field." And the wife saw for the first time how her husband's face looked like. So the whole blood was rushing on the face. The whole constitution had become red. She could not stand that. She simply ran away. No, this is not the time to talk to him. So she went away. Whole day he worked very hard. Then he managed to connect his field with the river. Then he felt supremely satisfied. This thing could happen on account of his firm determination. Dhrida nishchayaha. I am telling this again and again so that even if you go home, you should not forget this. Swamiji said Dhrida nishchayaha. Other things you may forget. But this aphorism, you should not forget. Dhrida nishchayaha. So I am again and again telling to imprint in your subtle body. It should go deep and stay there so that you can use it when you want it. So he was very happy. The field was connected. He was full of joy. He was peaceful. Then he came to home. And he called his wife very affectionately. He had not shown that affection any time before like that. His voice was so tender, so loving. And he's asking her, now please come, give whatever you want. I am ready to take. And he had his bath, he had his dinner. Lunch he could not take because lunchtime was over. Then he snored to his heart's content. Deep snoring. First time he had that kind of deep sleep. All this was on account of his stubborn determination. Now, Sri Ramakrishna tells this story, how nice it is. There is another farmer. He was also digging. He wanted to connect his field to the river. In the same way, his wife also came and she was asking her husband to come and take bath, take food, it's getting late, and so on. And this farmer did not protest much. So what he did was he put aside his spade and then said to his wife, well, I will go home since you asked me to. That man never succeeded in irrigating his field. See, one farmer got his field connected with the river, the other one could not. One was firmly determined, so he could get the result. The other one was vacillating. No firm determination, he could not accomplish anything. So, seeking God, to seek God, you have to have firm determination. That's the first step I am telling you. Probably I may take another half an hour more to explain this first step itself. It doesn't matter. Next Sunday, I will continue the same topic, if necessary. If I am not finishing, I am not able to finish, I think. Well, so one must have stern determination. Then alone is spiritual practice possible. So one must make a firm resolve. There is great power in the seed of God's name. Seed of God's name? Yes. Seed of God's name. That's what we give in initiation. We give divine name of the Lord, and that is a seed that contains everything. It destroys your ignorance. You must know a seed is tender and the sprout soft, still it pierces the hard ground. If you notice how the seed works in the earth, the ground breaks and makes way for the sprout. Through firm determination, one should perform spiritual disciplines. Then he can fix his mind on God. By repeated efforts, he should be able to do that. So that is the first step. Have firm determination. Now I am going to second step. Second step is nisprahaha. Of course, the meaning is very simple. Probably it appears difficult if you are not firmly determined. See, so firm determination you must have. Dhrida nischaya plus nispraha. So I am combining. You have to have Dhrida nischaya as your companion in your spiritual pursuit. What is nispraha? To be free from desire. It's very tough, I know. But there's a way of understanding this. How one should free himself from desires. Sri Ramakrishna has said in the Gospel, one must set fire to one's desires. Setting fire to one's desires. Then alone can one succeed. These are the words of Sri Ramakrishna. So, it is desires that are responsible for all suffering. Suppose you are suffering. You analyze yourself in your mind. Why that suffering has come? What is the root? Finally, you will come to know it's on account of some desire. It resulted in this way. Sri Ramakrishna explains this through a simile. In villages, the farmers bring water into their paddy fields. The fields have low ridges on all sides to prevent the water from leaking out. But you know, those are made of mud. Often they have holes here and there. The farmers, they work so hard to bring the water, but it leaks out through the holes. And now, desires are the holes. Desires are the holes. You practice japa, you practice worship, you practice meditation, you practice prayers, and you come to Vedanta every day, you do volunteer service, all these things are true. But they all leak out through the holes of your desires. Desires overpower you. See the fun. Again, Sri Ramakrishna gives another example. So beautiful. In Bengal side, it's very common. People catch fish with a bamboo trap. Bamboo tree. You know, you are familiar with bamboo tree. It's very, you can make a straight strips out of that. The bamboo is naturally straight. But why is it bent in the trap? In order to catch the fish. Desires are the fish. Therefore the mind is bent down toward the world. Mind is bent down. If there are no desires, the mind naturally looks up towards God. Bamboo is naturally straight, but it is bent to catch the fish. So, it is terrible temptations of pleasures that makes one stray from the path of yoga. Just observe the flame of a candle. The slightest wind makes it waver. The state of yoga is like the candle flame in a windless place. As you entangle yourself more and more in worldly occupations, what happens? The mind is dispersed in various directions. That mind is to be gathered in. It must be concentrated on one object. The desire for devotion or spiritual knowledge should not be classified under desires. You may desire it and pray for it. Sri Ramakrishna in another place has said in the Gospel, as long as there is bhoga, there will be less of yoga. Furthermore, bhoga begets suffering. In Bhagavata, there's a story. The kite, eagle, you can say, it had a fish in its beak. Immediately it was surrounded by 1,000 crows. 1,000. This also Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel. Whichever way the bird flew with the fish, the crows pursued it. They were chasing the eagle. At the same time they were crying, ka, 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 like that. 1,000 crows crying like that. Anybody would become mad. Anybody. So that means all these cows are bothering the eagle. It could not do anything. In that confusion, what happened? Suddenly the fish dropped away. Immediately, the crows left the eagle and flew after the fish, leaving the eagle alone. Now, this fish is the object of enjoyment. The crows, who are these crows? 1,000 crows. Who are these? They are worries and anxiety. They are crows. If you want to have a pleasure, be ready to have the crow bite. Worries and anxiety are inevitable with pleasures, enjoyment of the world. No sooner does one give up enjoyment, he is no more bothered and finds peace. Sri Ramachandra, there is a story in Ramayana. Vishwamitra had taken Ram and Lakshman in order to give training in archery, and also he wanted them to guard his hermitage while doing yajna. Anyway, Vishwamitra Rishi knew very well that Rama is not an ordinary human being. He knew very well that Sri Ramachandra was the Lord of the universe. He knew very well that. And he knew why he had been incarnated as Sri Ramachandra. So, Vishwamitra was fully aware of the divinity of Sri Ramchandra. So he told him, "Oh Ram, please come, we shall have to go to one hermitage here." So they went to Gautama Maharshi's hermitage. There was a huge rock. So Vishwamitra brought Rama by the side of that rock. While walking, Sri Rama's lotus feet touched the rock. Immediately the rock exploded. Exploding. What happened? A fine being came out of that. She was Ahalya, the wife of Gautam Rishi. And she was in that state of rock on account of something happened. There's a story. Well, once she was touched by Rama, she was thoroughly purified. As I said earlier, all her sins or dosha, we say, impurities, they were all washed away without a trace. There is not a trace of impurity. She was perfectly pure. And Gautama Rishi was supremely happy to see. Do you want anything? You can ask for. Sri Ramakrishna himself is asking. Without her asking him, he himself is offering. Well, I am ready to give whatever you want to. Do you want anything? Then Ahalya said, "Oh Ramchandra, I am overwhelmed by seeing you. Please fulfill my desire that I may always meditate on your lotus feet, even though I may be born in a pig's body." Because she became fully aware of the glory of Sri Rama's feet. As long as a man desires the things of the world, it is not possible for him to have any earnest desire to know God. Again, there is an analogy. As long as a child is absorbed in his toys, he forgets his mother. But as soon as he tires of them, he cries for mother. And the child is not happy till it sees the mother. Similarly, when a man tires of the playthings of the world, then his heart yearns for God, and he struggles with all his mind, with all his willpower to find him. Swami Brahmanandaji, another direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, said, effort must be your motto. If you want to grow spiritually, keep watch over every small desire which arises. Keep watch over that. And then what you should do? Control it. Don't give way to the desires. You have to start controlling it. If you say, I can't control, all right, be ready to suffer. You will be able to control it provided you have climbed the first step properly. That is firm determination. If you are firmly determined that you must realize God, now or never, if you have that determination, then it should not be difficult for you to control your desires. So, when you sit for meditation, you must think, desires for worldly things, what are these desires? They just bother me. They are worthless. So you must initiate such kind of thoughts in your mind to discourage the play of those desires in your mind. This will leave a good impression on the mind. As you drive away the desires from your mind, good thoughts and feelings will come up. Another direct disciple, Swami Premanandaji, said, "Let strong wind of dispassion rise in your minds, that the trees of desire be uprooted. Then, even as birds fly from the shelter of trees before a strong wind, will the ignorance of selfishness, jealousy, hatred and egoism take flight from your hearts. So long as there is the least desire, the mind cannot be absorbed in God." Which I am taking up in the next step. It comes absorption. Man Maya, that is another step that is required to seek God. Man Maya means absorption in God. You can't get that absorption if you have desire in the mind. If you allow the desire in your mind. If you are yielding to desire, then you can't seek God. So, along with meditation and repetition of Lord's name, you must reason keenly and carefully. You must search out the desires hiding in the dark corners of the mind. Dark corners of the mind. And drive them away. This is what is called in the Bhagavad Gita as saving the self by the self. Uddharedatmanatmanam. That's the meaning of that verse. Saving the self by the self. You have to drive away all the desires from the mind, then only you can save your mind. Otherwise, mind will shave you. You cannot save it, it will shave you. Shave. So, we are to conquer the mind. Then we shall find peace everlasting within ourselves. And that's the stage very near to reach God. Santa Tulsidas has also said, where Rama, the Lord of the universe, is there is no kama, desire. And where there is kama, desire, there Rama is not. Both never coexist. Like the sun and darkness. When there is sun, there is no darkness. When there is darkness, there is no sun there. It's just like that. If one doesn't want sense enjoyment, if one hates the approach of any thought of it in the mind, of their own accord, will all desires for sense objects fly away. That means the thoughts may come up in the mind, but don't give attention to them. That's the meaning. Suppose you don't like the company of a particular individual. What do? You don't talk to him. And in that way, you are showing your dislike towards him. And that fellow will understand, oh, he is not caring for me, he is not even looking at me, he is showing some kind of dislike for me. Why should I go to him anymore? Then he drops himself. One succeeds in driving away the desires for sense enjoyments if only one makes an effort for that. It is because we cling to the sense objects that desire for them does not leave us. We are allowing the mind to hang on. So we are hanging ourselves. A thread with stray fibers cannot pass through the eye of the needle. Similarly, a mind with desires cannot be absorbed in God. Worldly desires have taken up permanent residence in the mind. Sometimes they float on the surface of the mind, and sometimes they are so hidden that it seems they do not even exist. But the closer you are to God, the more you will see the knots of desire hidden in the mind. The more your body and mind are purified, the more the dirt and dross which have accumulated during thousands of lives will be stirred up and will challenge your spirituality. They will challenge you. The energy generated by spiritual disciplines forces the impurities to leave the mind immediately. How can they cope up against the power of the Lord's name? So, that's why we say the power of the divine Lord's name is immense. Only have to repeat God's name with love and devotion, with firm determination, with firm faith in Him. I am repeating His name in order to see Him. I am calling Him. What is the meaning of repeating His name? I am calling on Him. Why I am calling? Because I have not seen Him. Once I see Him, the calling will stop. So keep calling till you see Him. That's the meaning of telling constantly call Him. The desires are very shrewd. They take possession not only of the mind of a person, but his sense organs as well. As soon as desire is aroused in the mind, the sense objects are awakened. The eyes want to see, the ears want to hear, the tongue wants to taste and speak, the nose wants to smell, the body wants to feel, the hands want to work, and the feet carry the person to where the object is. All these things are happening. The other sense organs are alert, and whenever the opportunity comes, they also enjoy. Do you know what the mind does? It conjures up enticing pictures with the imagination. The imagination is man's worst enemy, his greatest tempter, for it creates beautiful pictures of sense pleasures and nearly destroys one's conscience. Thus one is drawn to sense objects. Therefore, if you want to control the desire for worldly things, control the imagination and don't be deluded by sense objects. One who has learned to discriminate can successfully overcome lust and greed. So cultivate your discrimination and conscience. How can you struggle against evil tendencies if your intellect is not trained to differentiate between good and evil? So first clear out the rubbish which has entered the mind through the gates of the sense organs, and then put a sign, no admittance, in front of each gate. Those bad thoughts which ignore the notice and still come in, you will have to hand over them to the police. Who is the police? Your conscience is the police. With the help of the police, you must evict the impure tendencies from the mind and then install the Lord there. This is the way to conquer lust and desire. Desire begets wants in the mind of a person. If he has no desires, he has no wants. Love for God destroys desires. If you are running temperature, what will happen? Everything tastes bitter. You don't like sweets. Even so long as you have the desire to enjoy worldly things, you can have no taste for prayer, meditation, fast, and vigils. All taste bitter. When this worldly fever subsides, prayer, meditation, etc., they taste sweet. The mind settles quickly to them. Temptation cannot sweep you off your feet. Another great disciple, Swami Abhedananda, said, desire are of two kinds, good and bad. When desires are associated with selfishness, they are bad. But when desires are motiveless or selfless, they are good. Anger, greed, jealousy, these spring from bad desires and they harm the people. Virtue and vice arise from desires. One can have no peace so long as one is a slave to desires. Peace means the conquest of desires. And the way to the conquest of desires is through doing good to others, striving for the welfare of others. What makes the mind impure? Another direct disciple, Ramakrishna Math, has said, it is desire that makes the mind impure. Free the mind of all desires, and at once it becomes pure. The lover of God sees that instead of bringing enjoyment, these desires are the source of all miseries. He understands that in God alone he can find the satisfaction of all desires, for he is infinite bliss and all other pleasures are finite and perishable. Mind is compared to a big mirror which gives a perfect reflection, but which has been so thickly covered with dirt that nothing can be seen in it. The more you can rub off that dirt, the more you will be able to see yourself in it. The more you can remove the least speck of dust, the more you can get a perfect image of your true self. What is that dirt that hides the image? Selfish desires. I'm again and again touching this point, desire, so that you must know how the desire is playing havoc with us. How you should be very careful about controlling your desires. Desire is a very dangerous thing. Sometimes we think we have killed all selfish desires, but somewhere in our mind there lingers some remnant. And as from a spark left in the corner of the hearth may come again a big fire, so out of that small remnant may spring a huge fire of desire. Someone asked a question to the Swami. See, God is all powerful, He is all loving, kind and compassionate. Could He not free us from ignorance at once if He wished? Swami said, surely, but He is so infinitely loving, He does not wish to interfere with. So long as He sees that we really cling to our ignorance and our desires, He does not come to free us. Only when we turn all our desires to Him, then He comes and selfishness and ignorance go away. But we must not bribe the mind, we must not pretend to be free from desires. The feeling must be absolutely sincere, no fraud or bribery. Desires cannot be quenched by satisfaction, but by dissociation. The more one yields to them, the more they will burn him. When desires are extinguished, perfection which is within our being will be revealed. That's how this Swamiji said. Another Swamiji, Swami Chidananda, he said, conflicting desires arise in the mind. Because of these desires, the mind is constantly lashed into waves. As long as these waves form, the mind is restless. In order to control these waves, which give rise to thoughts of a worldly and distracting nature, one must live a life of self-discipline. After death, worldly desires continue to remain in subtle form. Don't think when you die everything is finished. People have that, some people at least have that notion. It's not true. Death only destroys the gross body. But the senses, mind and intelligence, they all remain in a subtle form. In that subtle body, sense enjoyments are all the more acute. After the settled state comes the causal state. Even then, the mind and other phenomena exist in the form of seed. In the supramental state only, one attains perfect illumination. So it is not enough, therefore, to strive for physical development only. What is needed is an all-round advancement, physical, mental and spiritual. So what is the cause of rebirth? It is desire. If you get rid of all desires, you will not be born again. For instance, the Swamiji said, Swami Vivekananda ji, if I set anything in motion by pushing it with force, it will keep moving so long as it has got the momentum. If it is not pushed further, it will certainly stop moving sometime or other. The cycle of birth and death continues because we give it a new impetus in every birth. But if we stop giving it a new impetus, that is, if we overcome our desires, we will have no further rebirths. So out of 6 steps, I have covered only 2 steps today. The remaining 4 steps are there for you to come next Sunday to next month, I think. Next month, first weekend. Of course, I will just give in a nutshell what are the other steps. The 3rd step, Bhagavan says in the Gita, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodhaha. That is, one should be free from attachment, fear and anger. That's an important step if you have to seek God. I'm just giving the idea. I will explain it in the next Sunday class next month. The 4th step is Manmaya. That means the mind should absorb in the divine form. The 5th step is Mamupashitaha. Vitaraga Bhayakrodha Manmaya Mamupashitaha. Mamupashitaha means to take refuge in Him. He is everything. I am nothing. If you are established in that idea, certainly you will see God. And the last step, what Lord Krishna has specified, Jnana Tapasa Puta, that is, knowledge and penance, one gets purified. When all these steps are tread upon, then they come to me. Vitaraga Vayakrodha Manmayama Mupashitaha Bhavo Jnanatapasa Puta Madbhava Magataha. Chapter 4, verse number 10. So these are the steps. Because I have already told all these 6 steps. And let us be very studious in practicing them. The first step is very important. If you take the first step properly, then you will be able to take other steps very easily. If there is wrong in taking the first step, then you will collapse. What is the first step? Dhrida Nishchayaha, firm determination. Thank you. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. May the Divine Spirit protect us, guide us, give us strength and right understanding. May we not hate one another. May love and harmony be with us all. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. May the Divine Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we work in harmony with great vigor. May our study be illuminating and fruitful. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.